Most stories are presented to us in a logical progression. They start at the beginning, move forward to the end, and then stop. Others are less straightforward. Picture, if you will, the tale of the Gridanian Goldsmith, who was neither goldsmith, nor was he from Gridania. Some of the most recently discovered information about him may in fact be the oldest, and comes from Lapis Manalis, an abandoned village in the Cerulean Caves, where Garlean reapers practice their void and martial arts. The caves are littered with all manner of void-sent vagabonds and mammoth-like monstrosities. These combat dolls found within the dungeon were built to practice and hone the skills of the void-sent-wielding reapers that lived there. Although some, like Galatea Magna, who tests our abilities, were complex and intelligent enough to be sent on missions themselves. They were created and maintained over the years by obsessive dollsmiths, who passed on these secret skills that brought these mannequins to almost life, until one of their crafting brethren betrayed them. A memoranda found inside Lapis Manalis tells us,
"Maintenance of the Galatea must be handled with the utmost care. The delicate art of their making has long since been lost, making repairs difficult and reproduction all but impossible. The knowledge was kept secret, passed down to those who would inherit the position of Master Dollmaker. That is, until one man chose to break with tradition. He claimed to be leaving on a journey in pursuit of an unparalleled beauty, but we never learned the truth of it. The only thing that is certain is that the art of our forebears left with him."
Now, one must ask what kind of unparalleled beauty he was seeking, and what kind of man would search for it in the company of the porcelain and the artificial. The fate of the lapis crafter may not be certain to his brothers, but our tale may pick up sometime later in the Twelveswood with our next encounter. The unnamed Master Dollmaker's next sighting is found in a book in the Great Google Library, only accessible at certain moments in our adventure. A structure rife with forbidden knowledge, arcane entities, and relevantly, void-sent.
Diary of a Goldsmith. Today I visited the Twelveswood. Lady Amadine of the Dartingcours, a regular patron of mine, bid me call upon her household. I set off with confidence, my latest masterpiece in hand. But it was within the walls of Hawk Manor that I beheld the true pinnacle of perfection.
By this time, the Dollmaker appears to have settled in Gridania, or at least frequented it in the days after and perhaps before the calamity, working for one Lady Amadine of Hawk Manor, and is claiming to be a goldsmith, though his actual area of expertise does not seem to have changed much, as the only creations he appears to have left behind are carefully crafted mammoths, like the minions of which we are oh so fond. Calling upon his late patron, he arrived to find the Lady Amadine dead, her corpse transformed into a succubus by the void-sent Helicarnassus, and according to him, he had at last found true beauty. With the horrors that took place in the manor in recent memories, one might shudder at his revelation, and what he might do with such inspiration, no matter how alluring and enticing the form of a succubi and its fellow void-sent minions. In a book we find in the restricted area of the Charlean Library Numenon, the story is continued.
Today, in a world not my own, I met the most beautiful void-born creature. She was so unlike her ravenous brethren, eyes blazing, not with hunger, but trembling, like a candle's flame, threatening to flicker out at any moment. I wonder if she is even the proper word. Such distinctions seem inconsequential, insignificant even. All that matters is the love I feel for this exquisite, transcendent being.
And what is this other world? Assuming he isn't simply using overwrought language, and the being before him is in fact a void-born creature, it would be the 13th. How the goldsmith ended up in the 13th reflection of Hydaelyn is truly an enigma. It could be he fell into a void gate, or maybe one of his dolls whisked him away in a dream.
Hello, good hunter.
Or perhaps he had never even been of our world to begin with. However he arrived there, he fell deeply for its denizens, in spite of, or perhaps for, their nightmarish appearance, and in a remarkably forward-thinking moment does away with the notion of gender, which is quickly undercut when you realize he's likely speaking of a thing of tentacles, spikes, and far too many orifices. So taken is he with the void scent that he uses his obsession and doll-making skills to build a body fashioned after Lady Amadine, which he then attempts to animate by summoning a void scent from the 13th into. A leather-bound diary from the Great Kubal Library reads,
Beauty is ephemeral, but it needn't be. My Lady Amadine knows this well, lovely creature that she is. Would that I could have the genuine article in my keeping. But alas, I shall have to settle for a pale imitation. The vessel is not quite up to my usual standards, but beggars can't be choosers, as they say. I washed and anointed it per the instructions, then secured it to the bed with chains. Wouldn't want her to get any ideas above her station, oh no. Gods, just the thought of it is enough to get my blood pumping. I can hardly wait to welcome my beloved succubus into the world.
The ethics of his actions aside, his reward was swift and appropriate.
Ah, the tentacles! So many tentacles! The sound of it writhing on the bed! Just listening to it is an agony. I've made a terrible mistake.
A useful lesson in the numerous reasons not to mess around with extraplanar entities for the use of getting one's rocks off. But perhaps more interesting is when we hear the tale from the other side, confirming its veracity. Much later on in our adventures while in Zero's domain on the 13th, we encountered a squid-headed voidsent who tells us,
If it isn't immortal, you remind me of the time I was summoned into the world by someone who sought beauty. Well, it turned out to be a deviant who had my vessel chained to a bed, and when I tried to break free, he had the gall to call me a hideous fiend. As if that wasn't bad enough, he just started slicing me up. I left that body and fled back here as quickly as I could. Never again. Never again.
It seems one man's monster is another monster's monster, and the deviant desires of the goldsmith were more than enough to disgust even a voidsent. The goldsmith, however, did not seem to be deterred. From here, the evidence of his tales is found in his handiwork, the many minions crafted by him recounting his exploits. It's not clear if he ever found much success in his aims to create the perfect succubus doll for his personal pleasure. But we do know he did not stop trying, be it from the first summoning or later attempts. His project came under scrutiny, and the Gridanian authorities were alerted to his actions, and he was arrested, tried, and executed by hanging. A note attached to the succubus mammoth reads, one of the countless clockwork servitors discovered in the home of a Gridanian goldsmith recently hanged for the crime of ritual summoning. It is believed while crafting the automata, he became increasingly obsessed with the void, until the darkness bid him do the unthinkable. One might be forgiven thinking that summary execution would be the end to his tale, and yet it isn't. No, somehow this is not the end of the story. Another note attached to a mammoth made in the likeness of the cloud of darkness informs us. When this automata, resembling one crafted by a goldsmith, hanged for dabbling in the dark arts was discovered, it prompted authorities to exhume the recently buried body. This, however, only confirmed their worst fears, that the coffin was empty. Somehow the goldsmith returned, or at least his body has not been recovered nor seen since. Perhaps the very void he obsessed over found its way into him, a void scent making his corpse its home. Or maybe ghoulish grave robbers had hoped the goldsmith might have been buried with his many miraculous minions, ripe for reselling. It could be even now that he is an ashkin, wandering the black shroud, ever seeking to find his perfect, precious succubi. Or perhaps he's still out there alive and well, ready to craft his next automata, ever seeking to perfect his process. 3 final wind-up minions attributed to a nameless man who was and was not a goldsmith, and who did not come from Gridania. 3 final clues about his life after death. Clues about where he might have gone, and what his focuses were turned to. Wind-up Califisteri. This clockwork creation is similar to others made by a deranged Gridanian goldsmith, whose body went missing after he was executed for conjuring the dark arts. Found in the remnants of the city of Mach, an explorer swore he could hear cackling from behind the crumbling walls. Wind-up Echidna, possibly one of countless clockwork servitors crafted by the Gridanian goldsmith, whose body went missing after being hanged for the crime of ritual summoning. Upon the doll's back is carved the following:
And in the endless darkness I found her. Or was it she who found me?
Wind up Skaha. On the sole of her left foot can be seen the inscription:
With this I profess my love to thee.
The lettering, however, does not match the Eorzean used during the later 4th Astral Era, suggesting that the automaton was crafted far after the fall of Mach. And with that, our story comes to an end. For now, we know no more about the Gridanian Goldsmith, but we are left with questions. Questions like, did he ever succeed in summoning a voidsent into an exquisitely crafted doll to recreate the form of his beloved succubus? What actually befell his body after he was hanged and buried? How is it possible he found his way into the 13th before any known Voidwalker? What was he doing in the Weeping City, and how did he find his way into Yafame? And while there, how did he sneak past all of its dangers and bear witness to Calofisteri, and then create a mammoth in her likeness? Actually, while we're at it, how did he see Echidna? She was on the Void Ark, which was soaring literal malms above the ground for 1,000 years, and nothing more than a ghost tale to most people. And wait, what about Skaha? She was trapped in Dunscape, also hidden away from everything. And the Cloud of Darkness. The Crystal Tower and its Void Gate were sealed away for the better part of 5,000 years, and I mean, even if he did make his way to the Void, the fact that he in any way saw her and lived long enough to make a mammoth after the experience seems improbable. And come to think of it, where are these bosses getting these mammoths to drop anyways? Are they holding on to them? Are we picking them up as we are running through the Alliance Roulette, then rolling a 100-sided die to choose who gets the Necrophiliac's living sex doll prototype? And wait, how old is he actually? Because he was alive at least at the start of the 7th Astral Era, but the Reaper Village has been abandoned for decades, and if he's so obsessed with Voidsent, why leave the cave full of people who do nothing but commune with Voidsent? And what about the diaries in the Grey Gooba Library? Amadine and Hawk Manor didn't happen until the 7th Astral Era, but Emporium, New Charlian, was left 10 years before the Calamity, and Goobel was sealed off. Is this man some kind of dimension-walking, form-changing, mammoth-making, Voidsent-simping, unkillable god? Sorry. Got a little carried away there. But what do you think? Is he still out there somewhere, crafting murderous dolls with the hearts of Voidsent? Will he ever return? And what more of his story is yet to be told?
Hey all, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, praise the 12 by giving it a like and comment, or by subscribing. It goes a long way to helping the channel. Don't forget, new videos every week, and if you want to engage with us further, why not check out our Discord and Patreon in the link below and become a part of our community. With that said, see you around, fellow archons.
If he's so into automata, wouldn't it be easier to just get him to do the Near Alliance raid?
Wandering the Black Shroud, ever seeking to find his precious, perfect succubi waifu.